If you have oily skin and every glow makeup look turns greasy by the end of the day, this one is for you. Today we are creating golden hour makeup that looks expensive in every light. Soft matte, sun-kissed and polished. The goal is not super dewy skin. We are keeping the center of the face matte, adding warmth with a bronzer and blush, and placing highlighter only where it actually flatters the skin. I don't usually use mattifying primers for everyday makeup in the heat because they can sometimes create the opposite effect. It can feel like a light greenhouse under the makeup. The base starts melting unevenly, and instead of looking controlled, it looks heavier and messier. The exception would be a very special occasion, like a wedding where I know exactly where I need extra grip and how the skin behaves. Next, for the base, a heavy layer of foundation can separate much faster on oily skin, especially if you are wearing it for a wedding, dinner, summer event, or any long day in the heat. I apply it with my hands like this. It's easy, it's fast, and it feels almost like applying a serum. Then I go over with a damp sponge and gently dab off the excess product. And this removes any unnecessary layer and keeps the base looking like a real skin. Next step is concealer. I'm choosing something lightweight, almost invisible after blending. I'm applying concealer only where I need brightness and lifting, just under the eyes, following the lower lash line, near the nose, and smile line, just to remove the shadow here and make the face look more lifted. And under the lip corners, to lift the mouth shape and make it look more defined. And we are putting light exactly where we need lift. It's all an illusion of contrast, depth and light. If you don't use contour or bronzer, you can also apply a little concealer under the cheekbone, right where your teeth touch each other. To blend, I use a small synthetic blending brush and follow the same direction as the line. Then I gently dab everything into the skin with a sponge to remove extra product. By the way, all these lines should be parallel to each other. Let's call them like 3 lifting lines. And synthetic brushes are better for liquid and creamy textures, and natural bristles are better for powder products. That's the main difference. I'm not overloading the face. You can still see my skin. Everything melts together like a dream, like butter. And all the layers, the face tint and the concealer, are still very thin, because the more product we add, the more likely it's to move throughout the day. We are bringing in the golden hour warmth. If you love bronzer but want it to look more natural on the skin, I recommend using a darker shade of foundation instead. It blends into the skin more beautifully and looks less obvious than traditional contour texture. I warm my little product on the back of my hand first, and this makes it easier to blend and apply it in one thin layer instead of drawing harsh lines directly onto the face. If you're a beginner, stay with this method. But later, we can move to mapping the lines directly onto the face, okay? And now I go just above the line we created with the concealer. It's easier. So with dab motions, slowly dab, 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 and move toward the line I'm showing you here. This is your natural shadow, just slightly deeper. You see? I don't move the product back and forth. I just slowly press it into this area, and that's it. For blush, I'm not choosing a peachy pink today. I'm choosing a muted pink because for my skin tone and undertone, it gives the most natural golden hour effect. You see, it's almost the same color as the inner part of my lips. That's why it looks so harmonious on my face. I warm it on my hand the same way I did with the bronzer, and then I place it slightly high on the cheeks, blend it into the bronzer. And this makes the whole look feel romantic, lifted, and perfect for a wedding guest or summer event. Cream textures are lighter and easy to blend, even for beginners. Look at this color. It's gorgeous for olive undertones and neutral undertones. Just beautiful. For lips, I'm going with a dusty rose lip color. First, I remove foundation from the lips, because foundation on the lips can create that white line later, so remove it properly. Then I apply the lip liner. Because the lips are clean, the liner won't look blurry, it will look sharp, defined, and much easier to apply. And this pencil is creamy when you apply it, but once it sets, it doesn't transfer as much anymore. And then I go over it with an almost lipstick. It's like a balm with a pigment. It's not the most long-lasting product, of course, but it's very easy to touch up even without a mirror. Glossy lip works beautifully with a soft matte skin. We will mattify the skin after the cream products have absorbed. Okay, now let's do soft eyebrows. Without strong golden hour sunlight, this already looks good. But in direct warm light, we need a little more definition. For that, I use eyebrow shadows. I take it with an angled brush and start filling in the tail of the brow first. Then I move to the middle part. And if I feel like it's not enough, I slowly build up the same color. It works exactly like regular eyeshadow. You build the intensity gradually, and if it becomes too strong, it's easy to brush it out and soften the effect. So you have to try this. I think you will like it. Then I take the same foundation and a thin flat sharp brush and clean up any mess after brushing through the brows. And then with the tip of the brush, I clean the space under the arch. This removes the intensity of the hairs that outside of the shape we are creating today. Do the same on the other side. Actually, this tip also works for the lip corners. You can make them sharper, more defined, and more lifted. And finally, I use a brow marker to fill in empty spots where I can see bare skin. Just light touch-ups, hair-like strokes, and that's it. But keep in mind, we still want to keep that gradient diffused effect, a soft, transparent beginning and a more defined detail. For the eyes, I'm keeping everything soft and warm. I'm using this eyeshadow palette. I know, you might think it's totally cool toned, but it's not. First, I even out any creases on the lid with my fingertip, then I pat the brush directly onto the mobile lid. Make sure the lid is dry and properly set with the color. I don't apply it only once or twice. You can go over it 3 or 4 times. I want to make sure the whole lid is set, not just the mobile lid. The whole lid is our canvas for blending other colors. If you don't dry and set the lid properly, eyeshadow will grip to the wet areas too strongly and the result will be patchy. Then I take the next shade with the same brush. Hold the brush perpendicular to the face, look straight ahead and go right along the eye bone. One more time, relax your brows, look straight ahead and hold the brush perpendicular, not flat. And we need this color only between the brow tail and the mobile lid. Forget about the crease and don't worry about what's technically inside the creases area. Now build the intensity. I apply this shade here 3 times as well. Look closely. The brush doesn't touch the lid space. Also, the tail of the brow and our blending should be parallel to each other. By the way, you can blend this shade slightly into the nose. Okay, I will set this color along the lower lash line. And look how this shade makes my eyes look more green instead of just gray. Then I take the shade Mesh, and it's a pinkish gray. Technically, this color calms down those dangerous reddish pink tones around the eyes. Place the flat side of the brush down and make sure you fill in all the little gaps, texture, and folds. This color is also beautiful on lighter skin tones as a very soft contour shade, even for the nose. And finally, what's golden hour makeup without sparkle? I take the shade Shine and apply it with my fingertip to the mobile lid. This shine looks like a million tiny diamonds. I'm obsessed. It reminds me a little bit of Urban Decay Space Cowboy before the real launch. If you know, you know. And this kind of eye makeup works because it supports the golden hour feeling without competing with the skin. You'll understand why when you see the end of the video. Okay, then let's add tubey mascara. So this one is perfect for travel or lazy days because you can wash it off with warm water and that's it. But it also doesn't print or transfer during the day, especially on my hooded lids. I like it. And while I'm applying mascara, look how shiny the eyeshadow is. I love this. Okay, next, powder. This step is what makes the look work for oily skin. I'm going to use a powder that has never failed me. With a brush, it gives light coverage and a soft blurring effect. Love it. But with a powder puff, it gives a thicker layer. But don't worry, 5 minutes later, every girl with oily skin knows how gorgeous it looks on the skin. You know, it's like a curls when you are doing your hair. At first, they can look a little too much, but by the time you spray perfume, brush your hair, and walk out to the door, everything settles perfectly. It's the same with the extra layer of powder, exactly this kind of powder. The powder prevents the oil from disturbing the coverage too quickly. I'm setting the T-zone, the sides of the nose, under the eyes, and around the mouth. Then I powder the rest of the face. I'm also powdering the high points of the face, of the cheeks today, because later we are going to add glow with a powder highlighter, not cream. Cream highlighter on top of this kind of base can move the foundation, especially if you are a beginner or if you are doing makeup before an important event. I like the glow from the Radiant foundation too, but not today. Look how smooth, even, and beautiful the coverage is. Not heavy, just velvety, even, smooth, and a little Photoshop effect, but in real life. And final step, highlighter. And this is where oily skin needs strategy. I'm not putting highlighter everywhere. I'm avoiding the center of the forehead, the bridge of the nose, and anywhere I naturally get oily. Apply the highlighter, then turn the brush to the clean side and polish the product into the skin until it looks like a glow you can see from space. I'm following my natural bone structure and I add a little bit to the tip of the nose. So look how glowing it is, just amazing. And I choose a silver highlighter today to match my earrings, not gold. But if I were wearing gold earrings, I would definitely go for a golden highlighter. Remember, powder and powder highlighter are best friends. Cream highlighter can create bare spots in the foundation or powder if you are a beginner. Don't try for the first time right before an important event. That just would be a huge mistake. And I also add this highlighter to the ears and to the inner corners of the eyes to make them pop and look more open. For everyone who is obsessed with blush or has a little blush blindness, go for a powder blush with a pinkish tone, something close to the lipstick. Apply it exactly where you naturally get sunburned. This looks so refreshing and pretty realistic, at least in my case. And this is the final look, golden hour makeup for oily skin. Soft matte, sun-kissed, polished, and with a highlighter only where it actually flatters the face. This is the kind of makeup that looks expensive in every light without turning greasy by the end of the day. If you have oily skin, let me know. Do you prefer fully matte makeup or soft matte with a little glow? And if you want more event makeup looks, subscribe for the next tutorial. Thank you so much for being with me today and see you soon. Bye!